Good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Thursday, July 26, 2018. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here is the daily time frame of the ES. One thing I wanted to note right now is obviously prices are at the highest point that we've been at the entire year. We've gotten a little bit higher into 28.78.5 at one point, but we are clearly at the highest points we've been since late January. Additionally, if you look at the current framework of the current uptrending market, that lower line is not as good as it could be, maybe like this. You can see that we're kind of at the upper end of that channel as well. One more thing is, right before we see a correction like this, we tend to have a big up day like we did yesterday. Here we saw that, here we saw that, even here with a minor pullback, here sparked the big one. So again, we're seeing that type of behavior. We're at these price levels that if we're not going to break out here heading into August, then perhaps we rotate a little lower first and then buy down here for another shot at new highs. Remember, this up move started way back here during this accumulation and absorption down in this area, and right now we've already been weeks and weeks into this move. So the last folks are getting paid here, and at the end there may not be much demand. Price will need to auction lower in order to entice buyers, and at that point we start the rotation over or see something different emerge. But right now, with the way that the market's pushed higher, I would watch the 28.30s very closely here. 28.25, that zone, failure to hold that area could rotate this thing downward at least another leg before we start to see another round of strength. So right now, just some initial signs to watch for as we head out into the rest of the session. If we take a look at the NQ, this one fairly similar, but again, this one has been on highs already. We're kind of hugging this upper end of the range. Got the lower end over here, and again, we've been in this uptrending type of channel this entire time, but we're at the upper end now. Do we see a little bit of a rotation back down before we start to see maybe another move up? Again, we're near highs here, and anytime we're near those highs, bulls will look to be patient for rotations or counter trend rotations for a shot at defending lower price levels. Right now we're not seeing that, and instead we got to continue to watch recent support here, because we could continue to hold that zone until we're ready to go, and as soon as we are, 69.87.5 will be a very strong target to shoot for down there. So again, still trending up, starting to show initial signs of rejection. The 74.40 level was the level we were watching yesterday. Quite a battle in that zone, then the stops came out. Now back below it. So continue to watch that zone in general, and again, we'll continue to watch for signs of rejection or continuation of this move. But it appears that we're getting toward the latter stages of this move, so we'll continue to watch it closely. Taking a look at the crude oil chart here, what you'll notice with crude, we're seeing the same type of behavior that we saw just prior to the recent rally. What you'll see over here is this price action here. This is basically the same. You know, we had a major corrective phase here, a hiccup, and then a strong push back down, and then we were looking for signs that this might be a solid move back up. Well, it took a double dip for that to happen, and then price went. Same thing happened here, another quick move down, a secondary move. Now we've been watching for signs that this thing might really explode higher, or maybe even break below and drop another leg, and it hasn't done it. Instead, it has needled higher into this rising wedge, very similar to what we saw before. So this day is going to be very, very important. Friday, if the stops come out below the 69 low, we could be looking at a significant day that tests 66s and takes out those recent lows. I mean, we could be templating that prior action tomorrow. So again, I'm looking for signs that we're going to see a major move here. I've kind of dabbled in both directions here, trying to see which way we might go. And so again, we're to the point now where we could see that release of energy finally come. And again, if we do, I'd be looking at a day like that where we see an aggressive move. So on a day like that, you'd like to position yourself and let the market do the rest. Alright, let's take a look at the mini Dow futures. We talked about this one here a little while back, and one thing we talked about was the fact that there was a pretty good odds that we were likely going to see a continuation higher into the 25,327s. That's the FOMC key level from June 13th. Again, we knew down here that we had a pretty good shot to get back up to that zone if you just give it a little time. The first pullback could also be a buying opportunity. We noted that earlier in the week, and so far that's played out nicely, and we finally reached it and closed actually beyond the previous month's high. So very important price action, very strong movement. Again, we're now at the upper end of the range and at a cycle high, and anytime you get to a cycle high, there's a tendency to start to come back down to where it came from, and then we start to process over. That's just the current framework of the market. Not every market is that way, but that's the current framework of the market we've been in here recently. So again, very solid move up. At some point here, be looking for signs of rejection or failed acceptance, as that may lead to a rotation back toward prior support. Finishing up with Bitcoin. Here's a look at Bitcoin. We've had a great move up. Again, we had 8,500 as our target. This was the rounded bottom or 3-point reversal with the breakout at the LVN 7K to 6,800. That led to a huge release of energy precisely to our target. And now, again, after a move like that, the tendency is for price discovery to continue until proven otherwise. So I mentioned before, any pullback could be a short-term buying opportunity for the next leg up, which could get you around 9K and perhaps as high as 9,500 if this thing really wants to get bullish. So a very nice continuation so far. Look for a pullback or maybe a failed new low. That could launch this thing into 9K for one more move at least. Alright, that's it for now. Let's see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck and trade well.